Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, we talk with Dr. Brad Lubben. He is a University of Nebraska-Lincoln ag policy specialist. We'll talk about the role farm policy plays during tough times on the farm and ranch. We'll also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission and Kansas Department of Agriculture, as well as our weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919, kfb.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leading in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online, kswheat.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future of Kansas corn. Online, kscorn.com. In agricultural news from agview.net, the Federal Communications Commission approved an order to help better identify gaps in broadband coverage throughout rural America. The agency will identify those gaps with a new data collection process. The commission had previously established a new process to gather data for broadband deployment maps, but that process has drawn criticism for its inaccuracies. The agency will now try to collect more accurate broadband deployment data by communicating with internet service providers, as well as getting comments from the public on the accuracy of those service maps. FCC Commission Chair Ajit Pai, a Kansas native, says the agency will no longer count on everyone in a census block as served by broadband if just one person in a census block is served. A census block in an urban area could be one city block in an urban environment, but a census block in rural areas could be hundreds of miles. So rural broadband advocates, Congress, and Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue all being critical of the FCC's broadband access maps as simply being inaccurate. The agency's most recent report shows that more than 21 million people have no access to high-speed broadband internet. The combined benefit of all cattlemen's beef board programs is nearly 12 times more valuable than their costs. Well, that is one major finding from a recent third-party return on investment study that was commissioned by the National Beef Checkoff Program and conducted by Dr. Harry Kaiser of Cornell University. It was completed back in June, and the study, based upon an economic model which quantifies the relationship between the CBB's various marketing activities as well as domestic and international demand for U.S. beef. It also compared the cost and benefit of those activities relative to producer and importer investments in the national portion of the Beef Checkoff Program. And under existing agricultural legislation, the Beef Board is required to have an independent analysis of the program's economic effectiveness conducted at least once every 5 years. If you would like to view the complete ROI study, a summary, or just get more information about the Cattlemen's Beef Board, you can go to beefboard.org. Well, you can find more ag news online, agview.net. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up. Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source, agview.net. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web, oldeseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. And Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. More at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Well, joining us now is Dr. Brad Lubben, who is a ag policy specialist at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And Brad has a connection back to Kansas and Kansas State, but he's been at UNL for a long time. But Brad, one of the reasons I want to talk to you is recently you were back in the nation's capital on a congressional hearing to talk about kind of what's going on the farm. What are some of the things that you shared?
Well, the hearing itself was focused on the role of policy in the midst of crisis or challenges, given the weather events and the challenges that producers have faced this spring. I presented a little bit of testimony there to discuss and document the extent of current challenges, current losses, and the role of some of the existing programs, disaster assistance programs included, that have helped to buffer some of those losses. But I also focused on the fact that the safety net is exceedingly complex. We were just getting ready to roll out education efforts on the 2018 Farm Bill and the new commodity program decision that producers face. But then we have the planting conditions and delays and prevented planting problems that we've had this spring. And we have to remember and learn all those specific rules about prevented planting coverage and the really complex challenges and decisions that come from that. You have the standing disaster assistance programs that have been authorized previously that particularly help with livestock losses. And then you have both ad hoc ag disaster assistance passed by Congress and the administration's ad hoc announcement of trade assistance payments. By the time you add all these things together, you end up with a very complex safety net, and trying to figure out exactly how that works is a critical question.
As you, somebody that's always dealt with policy and going through and how it impacts the farmers, let's talk just a little bit about this administration. It seems like we almost play for today rather than looking at the long term and how the impact that could make on, in a sense, ongoing things like a farm bill.
Well, it's certainly true that we're dealing with policy has a role in helping producers manage risk. Policy itself has become a risk in some sense, at least very uncertain, and particularly with the current challenges we see in trade. Just as we were moving towards what appeared to be progress on multiple trade fronts, then suddenly the change in administration, the change in priorities and directions, we're not in this agreement that we thought we were going to be part of. In fact, we've pulled out of that agreement. We're renegotiating a different one. We're fighting a trade conflict over here. It's a real challenge to say, well, this is what the market is telling producers is out there as an opportunity, but then here's what the reality is with the trade conflict. It's a challenge that says if we can resolve these trade conflicts, then we can sort of identify this ideal market of the future. How much pain do we have to absorb to get there is a really serious question.
We're talking with Brad Lubben, University of Nebraska, an ag policy specialist. We'll take a quick break and be back with more in just a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. And AgView.net, covering news and views in the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt. Reliable and relevant, AgView.net.
You don't have to be a farmer or rancher to become a Kansas Farm Bureau member. Anyone can join. As a member, you'll get discounts on things like hotels and entertainment, health and wellness services, cell phone plans, and more. You'll also strengthen the lives of your fellow Kansans and help build strong, prosperous communities through agriculture advocacy and education. Join us today. Visit kfb.org/join to learn more.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
And we're joined by Dr. Brad Lubben, University of Nebraska Ag Policy Specialist, and he was recently in D.C. talking about a number of issues, how policy is dealing with things. A couple of things that I'm sure we're talking about a lot. One, it seems like we always talk about, it was so critical. Everybody said in the Farm Bill was crop insurance. Were you able to do some analysis since that time? Is it kind of working the way it's supposed to still?
Well, we certainly have this realization that crop insurance is a critical part of the safety net, maybe the foundation of the safety net, even more important than commodity programs, at least according to many perspectives. But we also see in an extreme weather year like we've already had, understanding how crop insurance works, understanding what the features are, what the policy implications mean is also critical. With the storm events and the subsequent flooding that we had, we saw field conditions deteriorate to the point that we've had delayed planting or prevented planting. Okay, we know there are prevented planting coverage issues under farm program crop insurance provisions. Calculating that question of, is it worth planting now? Is it worth planting at a delayed period with a lower subsidy or a lower protection level, or is it worth giving up on it and declaring prevented planting? Those are important calculations for any producer to make on an individual basis. And we saw, I think, all of those scenarios play out already. We also see issues where crop insurance doesn't, at least the current provisions don't currently perfectly fit the situation. We now have the question of, on your prevented plant acres, you should plant a cover crop, and that would be a good conservation practice and a soil health management practice, but it's also looked at as, well, that might also be a forage that is beneficial given what we think is a short forage year. But the ordinary November 1st deadline to delay any harvest or rather any haying or grazing or cutting for forage purposes until after November 1st. Well, that's an old provision that says it's in there to make sure that we're not somehow incentivizing cheating in a program that says, well, let's declare preventive planting so that we can really plant the cover crop that we can also benefit from. The provision exists to prevent that from happening, but yet in the midst of a serious year, we've figured out, well, let's make an adjustment. And now November 1st is suddenly September 1st. There are other provisions where crop insurance just historically hasn't really covered. Think of the losses of stored grain due to flooding. A producer may have coverage on the building or the bin under their property casualty coverage, except that in many cases property casualty coverage excludes flood losses. So we may not even have the bin insured, let alone the contents. Is there a role for crop insurance to cover contents? Well, one could rate that. One could perhaps sell that as an add-on policy or as part of a basic policy. But at this point in time, no, it hasn't been covered, and now we have this extreme event with substantial losses. That's why disaster assistance tends to kick in for those kinds of events. We have issues like that we have to resolve. There's a fundamental, I think, drive and desire to make crop insurance work well and make it the primary part of the safety net. But then we also have to deal with these issues as they come up.
Dr. Brad Lubben, who is a ag policy specialist, University of Nebraska-Lincoln, has joined us. We'll have more coming up.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn. For livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Agriculture, specifically soybean farmers, have been facing some challenging times over the past several months. It has become more vital than ever to continue to look for ways to remain profitable. One area that the Soy Transportation Coalition has found that could greatly benefit farmers is dredging the bed of the lower Mississippi River. There's been a push from river stakeholders, including agriculture, to promote the dredging of the lower shipping channel from 45 feet to 50 feet in depth. This is the segment of the Mississippi River that stretches from Baton Rouge, Louisiana to the Gulf of Mexico, and it accounts for 60% of all U.S. soybean exports. This project will allow farmers to have a greater opportunity to cut down on the exporting costs that they incur by about 13 cents per bushel. An STC study, it would make transportation more competitive between railways and barges, making the prices comparable. The United Soybean Board is providing $2 million to help offset the costs from research, education, and promotion of the project. The research estimates that farmers in the 31 evaluated states will receive an additional $461 million for their soybeans due to the dredging. For Kansas farmers alone, that adds around $7.76 million of improved revenue. The Kansas Soybean Commission is a member of STC, which focuses on positioning soybean industry stakeholders to benefit from a transportation system that delivers cost-effective and reliable and competitive service.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Agriculture information on your computer or mobile device. News and views on grains, livestock, policy, and opinions from newsmakers can be found by liking AgView on Facebook, and on Twitter, follow AgView News, a reliable and relevant source. AgView.net.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
The mission of the Kansas Department of Agriculture includes a commitment to help ensure the protection of natural resources, and much of that focus on natural resources at KDA is through the Division of Conservation. The Division of Conservation works to protect and enhance Kansas natural resources through policies, guidelines, and programs designed to assist local government and individuals, especially conservation districts. Conservation programs include initiatives directed at water resources, riparian and wetlands, soil health, and other land and water conservation programs. Soil health education has been a priority for the Division of Conservation over the last couple of years. The division has funded more than 40 soil health workshops in the last 2 years, sharing information about cover crops, proper grazing management, and the science behind soil health with local communities across the state. Last year, we provided over $50,000 in grants to support these soil health workshops, made possible through the Non-Point Source Pollution Control Program funded by the Kansas Water Plan. KDA has also helped promote attendance at the No-Till on the Plains Winter Conference, which provides information for producers to examine the efficiency and profitability of no-till systems. This past year, 66 Conservation District Supervisors and 13 first-time attendee landowner operators were funded for scholarships to attend the conference. To learn more about the many ways the Division of Conservation at the Kansas Department of Agriculture helps protect the natural resources of the state, including the cost-share programs and information and education programs available in your area, go to agriculture.ks.gov/conservation.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
The Kansas Livestock Association and K-State are partnering on 3 ranch management field days this month. The first will be held August 13th at High Plains Ponderosa Dairy near Plains. In addition to a tour of the state-of-the-art facility, speakers will provide an update on the disease traceability pilot project known as Cattle Trace, outline the best methods for fly and tick control, and address the growing priority of consumer perception for animal agriculture. 2 days later, on August 15th, Moyer Farms north of Emporia will host the second field day stop. The stocker backgrounding operation is owned by Jarrett and Shauna Moyer. On the program at Emporia, presenters will help the audience identify Old World Bluestem, give a live demonstration of how the Cattle Trace pilot project works, and cover the possibility for using drones in livestock production. The final field day in the series will take place August 22nd at Rusty Acres near Dorrance, a commercial cow-calf operation owned by Lyman and Rosemary Nuss. There, speakers will talk about how cattle producers can be part of the Secure Beef Supply Plan, give an update on the Cattle Trace pilot project, offer suggestions for controlling locust trees and yucca plants, and discuss Old World Bluestem. The field days start at either 2 or 3 o'clock, depending on the site, conclude with a free beef dinner, and are free to attend. Thanks to sponsorship from the Farm Credit Associations of Kansas and Bayer Animal Health. More information is available on the field days at kla.org.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. And AgView.net, covering news and views in the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt. Reliable and relevant, agview.net.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Hi everyone, Zach Otot here with Paragon Ag. Monday is the big day. Generally, the August supply and demand report doesn't get this much attention, but 2019 has brought more than its fair share of surprises. This report will show us, as best as the USDA can, what is out in the field. We'll have the results of the resurvey of the planted acreage report, as well as shed some light on just how many acres are in prevent plant. When we get the results, what exactly will it tell us? It will tell us how many acres are planted. It doesn't make a difference if those acres were planted on the second week of April or the last week of June. More of the focus will be on expected yield. If we see a reduction in corn's 166 bushel an acre projection that has been in place since June, we could see a larger impact on the market. I still feel this marathon of 2019 has a ways to go yet. Since we haven't had a year quite like this, it is tough to try and guess the end result. We won't know until we get into harvest and past harvest just how much production reduction we will have. We still run the threat of an early frost, and beans still have a good month of August ahead of them. Ahead of the report, we've been looking for a news headline to trade, and well, we were able to find one, not necessarily for the better, but President Trump announced another round of tariffs on Chinese goods to go in effect September 1. As you can imagine, the entire ag space was under pressure. With the market facilitation payments announced, it seems a trade deal with China has a slim chance of getting finalized this year. This year has brought many challenges. Not only has production been a challenge, but making a marketing decision this year has been no easy task. If you think you need to get something in place for 2019, it is not too late. Give us a call here at Paragon Ag Advisors at 888-452-8751. I'm Zach Otot, and have a great rest of your day.
Well, that's our show this week. Be social with us online at KansasAgReport.net. Like us on Facebook at Kansas Ag Report Television Show, and follow us on Twitter at Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.